we are going to play Contenders or Pretenders. And as always, we're going to start in the AL East. Brad, let me give you some numbers here.
Okay.
The Yankees, my Yankees, are
Yes.
52 and 30. That's good enough for 634 win percentage. They still stand atop the division by a half a game. They're 2 and 8 in their last 10. Are they contenders or are they just pretending?
They're contenders. I would go so far as to say they're World Series contenders. They have some depth issues, but really in the when you get in the playoffs, like your pitching depth gets deeper because you take your starting pitchers and you cut your rotation down, right? And then you
Yeah.
add more guys, like you add some pinch runners, some pinch hitters with the expanded playoff roster. So some of their depth issues are going to get solved. They're going to kind of work themselves out a little bit, I feel like, and they're going to be fine. They're going through a rough patch right now. It's weird that there are certain teams that are just hit a rough patch all at the same time, right?
They
But
all at the same
honestly,
time.
the Yankees are going to be just fine. They're World Series contenders.
Um, I think we can say the same for Baltimore. I'm not going to ask you that, but the Red Sox, 43 and 37. Okay, that's 538 overall. They're 8 back in the division, and they're 8 and 2 in their last 10. Brad, are you saying they are contenders or are they pretenders?
I'm going to say that they are wild card contenders because they're not going to make a run. They're not going to make enough of a run to catch either the Orioles or the Yankees, but they're
Hmm.
certainly going to be contenders via the wild card berth.
Hmm.
And then when they get in the playoffs, they're going to knock out a team that won in their division,
Oh
right?
yeah, I can see that.
One of the
Yeah,
three that won their division, they're going to knock them out because they're going to go in there, they're going to play really well because they do.
yeah,
And
they do
yeah,
play well.
I think
Yeah,
they're going to continue. I think they continue on this clip. Obviously, not playing 800 baseball the rest of the way, but
no,
they're going to have really good stretches of ball through the rest of the way because they're a good
I
team.
agree. Well, and Cora, it was reported, I think yesterday or today, Cora said he's begging the front office to buy him some pieces. And that's an interesting thing. So, okay, let's move on to the Central. We've got the Royals. Let's start with the Royals. They're 44 and
Okay.
38, 537 overall. They're 9 games back in the division, 3 and 7 in their last 10. Do you think they're contending or pretending?
I think they're contending again. Another wild card team that's contending. Um, they put the bat on the ball better than just about anybody.
Hmm.
Like for reals, they are a really good team. Just putting the ball in play and letting it play out, right?
Yeah,
Because they're it's always said that you put the ball in play and good things happen, and that's what the Royals see.
yeah,
Okay, they continue to have somewhat of bullpen issues, but it's masked by um, by some by some really good starting pitching. Seth Lugo could, I mean, he's going to be a Cy Young finalist. I'm certain of it,
yeah.
right?
Right.
And that
Yeah.
offense is good, and it's led by dude Bobby Witt Jr. Is he the best shortstop in baseball right now?
Yeah, he might
Like,
be,
is
dude.
it
He's
him
a
and Gunnar Henderson? Like, that's it.
it. How could it be anybody else? Because everybody else is
Those
either
guys are in
hurt
their
or
second and
slumping.
third years.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Everybody
crazy.
else is hurt or slumping. The Royals are at even. They set the bar at the wild card in the American League
Mhm.
right now. Minnesota is 7.5 games back, but they're plus 1.5 games in the wild card. 45 and 36 in their overall, 556 win percentage, and 6 and 4 in their last 10. Are they? Is this the Twins we're going to see, or are they just on a hot streak?
Honestly, I am super confused by the Twins because they're so streaky.
Yeah.
Like they have stretches of really good ball, stretches of really bad ball. Um, they kind of go as Royce Lewis goes, right? If that dude
Mm-hmm.
continues to hit home runs, they'll keep winning games. But if he gets hurt again, they're not going to win games.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the big question: is like, is Royce Lewis going to be healthy, or is he going to be on the IL with whatever? You
Right.
know. So that's more of my question with the Twins. I don't want to call them pretenders because when he's healthy, they're as good as anybody, just about. But when he's not, for whatever reason, they can't get it together.
They're 14 and 22 against teams over 500. But they have a plus 36 run differential. right behind the plus 48 run differential of Kansas City Royals.
Well, you also have to consider this, though. Very few teams in the American League have a winning record against teams over 500. You've got Cleveland,
It's true.
the Yankees, and the Orioles.
Yeah.
That's it. The only teams with winning records over teams against teams over 500. So
Well,
I
that's
don't
interesting.
think
I'm
we can
looking
look
at
at
it,
that
and you're spot on.
too
That's
much.
crazy. That's
But
crazy. Is that because so few teams have been over 500 for very long? Because I'm looking at it, and that seems to be the case as well. Like Houston just reached 500.
right. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
And if you play a National League team, they're probably under 500.
At this point. At
So,
this point.
yeah, I don't know.
For
It feels like there's more parity this year than there has been in a long time.
yeah. Okay, so you think the Twins are contending or pretending?
I'm going to make them a question mark because I still don't know who they are entirely.
Okay. All right. I think they're
You
pretending.
can't. They're contending with Royce Lewis, but they're not without him. So, I guess I'll say pretending because I don't know who they are without that. Right? He's not. They're not very good without that guy for whatever reason.
Yeah, and if you can't win and lose on one guy. You can't. Now I know he's
Yeah.
getting back up, and on the days he's healthy and playing well and everything's fine, that he's not the only piece. We can all acknowledge that. But I
Right.
think because you are going to hang your hat on one or two, it's not going to work. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the AL West. Seattle
Hold on.
leads
We do need to talk
everything.
about Cleveland for just a minute, though,
Okay.
because
You don't think they're a
absolute
foregone conclusion?
I'm curious, what level of contender do you think they are? Like, I feel like this team
Okay.
could contend with the World Series.
Oh, they're
Like,
contenders. Yeah. At what level though? They're
yeah,
they're ALCS caliber play.
ALCS caliber. Have you
ALCS
watched?
caliber.
Have you watched? I'm gonna say it. Have you watched the Guardians play this year?
How dare you? And yes,
They've earned my respect, Brig,
they have.
because
It
they push
we
the
all thought
issue
it was the
on everything.
yeah, everything. It's
Everything.
a
They
well
control the
run.
zone.
Yes.
They have great pitching.
Yeah.
They get a guy on first. It doesn't matter who it is. He's going to try to take second.
Mm-hmm.
Bo Naylor is out there trying to steal bags, Brig, because he
Yeah.
wants to get in scoring position,
Yeah.
and he's just fast enough that you still got to make a perfect throw to get him.
They're playing the level of ball and the caliber of small ball when you need it that is competitive in any situation. And that's why they're
And
51 and
Stephen
27.
Kwan's going to be a top 5 MVP finisher
100%.
as long as he stays healthy
100%.
the rest of the way.
Yeah, they lead the division by 7.5 games. They did lose one, but they're 7-3 in their last 10. 105 run differential plus 105. And teams over 500, 23 and 12. Just to give
Pretty
you an
dang
idea.
good.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know that they're headed to the World Series, though they may be. I
So
do
I'm not
know that
saying they're headed to, but they have a team that could potentially they could
sure,
contend to get there.
totally. Yeah. I think I can see
Is-
them in the ALCS though.
Yeah,
At
definitely.
this point I can see that for sure.
Mhm.
Against which other team? I don't know. And that's going to take us to the AL West. So Seattle, unfortunately, Brad, we have to talk about Seattle. They're 46 and 37. They're 554 overall. 4.5 games in the lead of the division. They're 4-6 in their last 10, plus 11 run differential, and they're only 19 and 21 against teams over 500. Are we getting deked by Seattle, Brad? Because it kind of feels that way sometimes.
It does feel that way a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Um, this is the thing, is that literally if they get two bats going, if they get Julio and one other bat going, they're contenders. Absolutely. Because they have enough other guys, role players, like platoon guys, doing their job that the top of the
Mm-hmm.
order is kind of like, what? Right?
Yeah.
And to me, it feels like the front office is kind of outsmarting themselves with it. They
Yeah.
mix up
You
the
talked
lineup
about
too
that.
much. Like Josh Rojas, is he does really well batting 1 and 2, but then they're like, well, let's put him down at 9 so we have our second leadoff. It's like, well, he does terrible at 9. Why are you putting him there? What are you doing? You're still into the numbers, Poindexter. Look at him and see where he hits best in the lineup. So stick him to the top. It's where he does the best. And then everything else falls in line. They win games with him there. And the other problem I have, Brig, is this is one thing that I'm really curious if things are going to happen. I'm curious if we're going to get some addition by subtraction now that Jorge Polanco is back.
Yeah.
He has not been good. Wasn't good before he got injured. Hasn't been good since he got back. I know it's only been a couple games. But they put in Ryan Bliss and they won immediately. And they had incredible offense production, way better defense. Like,
Yeah.
addition by subtraction, man. I'm telling you,
Right.
it's gotta happen.
Well, I was having a conversation silently just now with Brandon Peterson, who jumped on to say, just wants you to know that he hopes the Mariners win at least one game this year. Brandon, thanks for watching. You know the score.
Brandon's an Angels fan, so
oh,
talk about winning a
I'm
game.
so sorry. They happen to be 11 games behind in the division, which is much better than I expected it to be at a glance. Honestly.
You know, real quick on the Angels, I saw an article today that said the Angels need to deal Taylor Ward like yesterday because he's slumping and he's going to lose his value if they don't. It's like, oh, dang.
Yeah, well, they should do that with what's his face. Yeah. Anyway, okay, Houston. They finally reached 500. They're currently 40 and 40. Okay, what do you think? Contenders?
Contenders. They figured it out.
Yeah,
they figured out whatever the problem was, and they're contending. They do hit. Hader looks more comfortable. Presley, I think, looks more comfortable in his spot.
Yeah,
everybody's playing the way that they should be. 8-2 in their last 10, won 7 in a row. I know that they're not going to sustain that forever, but they're a good team, just like we thought they would be.
Yeah,
right?
We wondered. Well, we took a stutter step on them.
They were.
We took a stutter step on them. I think the rest of the world did too. So now let's move to Texas. The Rangers, 37 and 44, 8 games back in the division, 6.5 back in the wild card, and this year's All-Star Game hosts. What's going on there? Contending or pretending? Real quick.
They're pretending.
Yeah, I know.
They're pretending. I think last year everything clicked just right.
For sure.
And it's just one of those things where everything worked out. And that's the way it works when you win a World Series, right? Everything just works out.
Yep.
They had a couple of bad stretches that I think that's who they really are.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing this year. Those bad stretches, those little blips that we saw last year where things weren't working out, that's who they are this year. Yeah. And that's who they really are. They're pretending.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Baseball family, we always talk about Chinook seeds and how they are the best seeds ever. And you can go check them out at chinookseedery.com and use 10%. Use code BTPod for 10% off. But if you need a place to put the best seeds ever, you can go to SeedSack. We have a partnership with SeedSack. You can get 5% off your order for the coolest little bag of seeds. It fits one of Chinook's little sample bags. They're not sample bags. They're little single serve bags, just perfectly the tall skinny one. Thanks. That's what I needed. And Brad loves his seed sack. He uses it all day, every day. There it is. You can use the code baseball together, 2 being the number 2, baseball 2 together. It'll give you 5% off your seed sack as well. It's another great way to support the show. All right, we're going to move on to the National League East. The Braves, 44 and 35, 8 games behind the Phillies for the division. 3 games up in the division right now. 6 and 4 in their last.
The wild card.
Oh, in the wild card. I can slow down and do this accurately. Plus 49 run differential and completely even with 19 and 19 against teams over 500. What do you think? Are the Braves contenders still, or are they pretending?
Right now, I'm going to call them pretending. If they make a move and they fill a hole or two where they're having some issues, then I will call them contenders. But they need another outfielder for sure.
Yeah.
They need a starting pitcher. So if they can fill those holes, I'll call them contenders. But for now, I'm going to call them pretenders. They're not
Mm.
gonna. I don't think they're going to be able to stick around. I mean, we could talk about the Mets if you want.
We have to because they're 39 and 39. They just also reached 500. 12 and a half behind Philly in the division, but only a game and a half down in the wild card. 8-2 in their last 10. Two of those were against the Yankees in a sweep of the Subway Series. Terrible for Yankees fans. 11 plus 11 run differential, 17 and 20 against teams over 500. That includes the Yankees. I can't stress that enough. It's just such a painful situation. Um, Lightning hot right now. Just
Hmm.
unbelievable level of ball. Are they
Yeah,
contenders or pretenders?
I want to say they're contenders just because they have the talent and they should be. But at the same time, though, it's the Mets.
Yeah,
They're probably
right.
going to Met the bet again, right?
That's what I
But
said last time.
while right, and while they're, I think though, while they're pretending, they're going to ruin some teams' days along the way.
Hmm.
Like they're not going to. I don't think they're going to win the games they need to win to get to where they want to be at the end of the year.
Right.
But I think they're going to win enough games to be a problem for enough teams. Like they could be a problem for the Braves,
Yeah, they could be a problem
unless
for
the
the
Braves
Braves.
figure it out.
Yeah,
Because right now, I don't have any faith in them.
in the Braves, you have none.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I think the Braves are still contenders, but I think you're right. They've got to get a couple of things worked out. Other than that, they're going to be just fine. I think they're still going to land perfectly in that first wild card slot, maybe the second wild card slot, and everything is going to be just fine. I think the Mets are pretending, though. I think this is a stretch. I think
Mhm.
we've seen the last of it by
The grimace
the
magic will wear
break.
off.
Yeah, by the break, the grimace magic will be over and it'll be fine. All right, the National League Central, Milwaukee Brewers lead the way 48 and 33. I think they're contending. Do we just call it a
Yeah.
contending? Okay.
Yeah. I'll
St.
call
Louis
'em.
Cardinals, though, 41 and 38 overall, 6 games behind Milwaukee. They are setting the bar at even in the wild card. They're 7 and 3 in their last 10, minus 31 run differential, and of course they have a negative record under over teams with 500 at 16 and 21. So against teams with records of 500. Are they contending or pretending?
They're pretending. This is a good stretch.
Yeah,
I mean, we saw who they were last year. We saw who they were up to this point this year. I think they're pretending. They're not gonna sustain it.
I agree. What about Pittsburgh though? Because Pittsburgh, 39 and 41, 8.5 in the division back, 2.5 back in the wild card, 6 and 4 in their last 10. What do you think? Is Pittsburgh pretending?
I want to call them contending because there's. I mean, it's like it feels awfully hypocritical to be like, oh man, the Pirates have a ton of talent. They should be contending. But then I just said the Cardinals were pretending, right?
Also a ton of talent, right?
But the talent on the Pirates is much younger, and they're going this way. The Cardinals are going this way,
Yeah.
right? And the Pirates starting rotation. Hello, have you seen those guys?
Oh yeah.
Keller, Jones, Skeens. I want to call the Pirates contenders
That's awesome. Yeah. I want to
because they're
too. I'm
set
just
up to
not
win 3 out of
convinced.
every 5 days guaranteed,
Yeah. That's that's what
at
you need.
least.
That's all you need is 3 out of 5.
Yep.
Okay, the NL West really quick. San Diego Padres are 8.5 games behind the Dodgers, who sit in first place. The Padres are 44 and 41. 7 and 3 in their last 10, plus 20 run differential, 18 and 19 against teams over 500. Which Padres team are we looking at? The contending Padres team we're seeing now, or is this a fluke? Are they pretending?
I think they should be contending. I mean, they ought to be contending. They should have been
Yeah.
contending for years,
Yeah.
right? They're going to
I
be without
agree.
Tatis for a little bit with a quad injury, but they ought to be contending.
Yep.
I
I
will say
agree
this
with
about the
that.
Padres though. The one problem they do have is that this is their ceiling because
This
they
is
don't
it.
have the money or the capital necessarily to make a move to get better.
They
So
That's
like
right.
this is where they're what you see is what you're going to get. They're not going to get any better this year.
I feel the same way. But what about Arizona? 39 and 42. Montgomery got annihilated. 11 and a half back in the division, but only 3 back in the wild card. Are they contending for that wild card slot still, or do you think they've they've hit this slide and they're going to stay about 3 games back the rest of the way.
So play like 500 ball the rest of the way. I guess it
Yeah,
would have to. So if they're going to
maybe a
stay
little
3
under.
games back, they'd have to keep pace. I think they're going to drop a little bit. I will have a better answer for you after this weekend, Brig, because I'm going to go watch this team in person.
Yeah, you are. So
But
you think, but I mean, right this minute, are you calling them contenders or are they
I'm
pretending?
calling them pretenders right now. They had that good stretch, for like
Yeah,
what, like 4 or 5 days was all. But I think
yeah,
this is who they are, who they've been up to this point. Had a good few days, and then continue to be that. That's who they are.
yeah.
They're pretending.